What's cracking, people? No full intro for this one. I just want to get right into this particular presentation. This is the other side of the stats presentation, and I have to post this because any researcher worth his weight in statistics or analysis or holistic observation has to admit and present evidence when it exists so abundantly in terms of the systematic oppression of our target case study for the male octane observation, or even the subject of the octane model in and of itself, which is foundational Black American descendants of slaves. And that being said, the first piece I want to put on this observation is that from the cradle, literally, the Yale study that was mentioned in the Nick Cannon video by Dr. Joy DeGruy is so telling, and that it shows a bias and an implicit bias across all genders and races in terms of early childhood educators and how the unconscious negative bias towards Black boys. Let me say that again. Black boys have an unconscious negative bias against them from early childhood education. We can stop this video here because that implies that from birth, Black males hold an implicit, unconscious bias against them by members of institutions. And the first institution that's supposed to take seriously the nurturing and teaching and growing up of children, babies, should be childhood and early childhood education centers, but obviously that's not the case. And even when the target case study is a Black woman or a Black female educator, it is shown time and time again with the data that the unconscious negative bias towards Black boys is measurable. So it's baked into the pie, even as early childhood education for Black boys. Moving on, getting through that system and successfully graduating is an accomplishment in and of itself. But once you graduate, using a name that is not a quote-unquote Christian name will provide another barrier to your advancement, and that name bias, let alone you showing up for the interview and the skin that you were born in, being another factor that's measured and levied against you. Moving on, in terms of those who look to alternative paths, those who choose, and I say choose, the criminal path, your punishment is far greater than that of your counterparts of other races. Many studies have been done, and I'm linking those studies down below, to the sentencing biases and the levels of offenses that for the same crime, the same offenses, the same localities, the same jurisdiction are far greater and far more intense for Black men as opposed to men of other races. Moving on from that, if we want to go back in history, because we can't just arrive and just be dropped into the system or this space in this moment and say, okay, everybody's got an opportunity, everybody's got a chance, go be great. Well, no, not everyone has the same positioning as other people. And when we talk about positioning, we have to include redlining of our parents and their parents and their parents, which is a result of a systematic apparatchik that has been levied against Black people, in particular Black men. Also, when we talk about pulling oneself up by their own bootstraps, there have been innovations throughout our history. When I say our history, black men in America, that have completely changed the face of the planet, of the developed world, such to the point that the Smithsonian had to admit to all of the patents that were denied black inventors that innovated and changed the world. So then the question comes back to, well, why aren't there any institutions that have been built? Aren't there historically black colleges and universities? Isn't there the NAACP? Aren't there these systems or centers for acknowledging the plight of black people in America, in particular black men in America? What are they doing, and why aren't they helping and remedying a lot of the circumstances that we find ourselves in? Well, that's because these institutions are not run by black men, and they are there as part of the system of oppression. Now, one of the reasons why we don't have the types of institutions that create pipelines for opportunities at all of the structural class positions within the society is because access to capital has been historically denied and erased. This article that I'm presenting right now, if we go back to the 1800s, historically, the relationship that blacks have had with banking institutions have been terrible, and even to the point of, at the emancipating of blacks and with the money that they generated from their own hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, when it was placed into an institution that was set aside specifically so that their earned money can be utilized and leveraged, it was taken, just simply taken. So I present these factors, and I present this evidence, and I present these elements so that we have a holistic view of why the octanes, in particular, the male octane structure, looks the way that it does in comparison to other class projections across ethnic backgrounds, and in recent history between the genders, between black men and black women, how various systems, programs, laws, funds, and set-asides have been presented to elevate one over the other, causing a competition between the members of the same ethnic background. That's another conversation for another day, but I just wanted to drop these links and present this more holistic presentation of the male octane observation, in particular the case study of the foundational black American male. And I just want to leave off from this particular presentation by saying this: a successful, quote unquote, successful black man under the current system is not only an anomaly, but a black man reaching success on his terms is a revolutionary act that should be protected and replicated at all costs. As always, this is your man Cousin T, aka the Alpha Wingman, saying, stay sharp and mission focused. Later.